Operational staff means to make sure CMS is running good. You think about your bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians. Those are all people who they need in place to make sure that the first day of school goes without a hitch. What they do tell me is that these shortages that they're suffering right now, it won't greatly disrupt the first day of school. Students should be okay, but we know what it means when you don't have enough bus drivers in certain areas. We saw this happen in a lot of places all over the country. There are some school districts that are paying to see if parents can take their children to school. We also saw in other areas like Kentucky, for example, students who didn't have bus drivers and students who didn't get home till 10 p.m. on the first day of school. They also had to stop school for a little bit. CMS says this is not the case for them. They've actually had to make some of those situations that are unpopular for some in the community. For example, express bus stops. That's where some of their magnet school programs, well, they'll actually be reducing the bus drivers and bus routes that are going to that. Take a listen from the COO of the district on why this was a smart choice to make.
I would remind people that if we had not shifted to made some shifts, especially with the express stop service, instead of being 30 drivers short, we'd be more like 180 to 200 drivers short right now.
And they're also short cafeteria workers, a lot more than they were last year, 156 shortages. And this is not equal across all the schools, but CMS says they are trying to recruit people. They have bonuses for some of these positions. Most of those positions do start at about $15 an hour, and they said they're going to continue to recruit through the entire school year. For Wake Up Charlotte, I'm Shamaria Morrison.
Alrighty, it's 5:16 this morning, and of course we're asking, where's the money? Now this time we're trying to save some money on your TV bills. Now, after Netflix and its new rules on password sharing, that might mean more out of your pocket, but we're taking a closer look at some numbers from Consumer Report. So the research organization is giving some insight as to how much people are spending on their subscriptions. At last check, Consumer Report adds the average American has about 4 different subscriptions. Now, depending on the service, that can run you about $50 a month or $600 a year. It's why we have a couple of alternatives. Now, first, it may be time to bring back the antennas. You can get these as low as $20, and if you're living in a metro area like Charlotte, well, you'll get your favorite local channels like WCNC Charlotte, as well as some traditional channels as well. And remember, you are not bound to a contract for a lot of these services, so come and go as you please. Once you finish watching that series on Apple TV or that movie on Disney+, you can quit the service and then rejoin when you have something new to watch. Now, another reminder here, there's a number of free ad-based subscriptions that you may want to try. And here's the list. You've got Freevee, Pluto, Tubi, Crackle, and Hoopla and Canopy. Those are just some to name. It got us asking, though, this morning, how many subscriptions do you pay for? Make sure you text us at 704-329-3600.
All right.
Kia, thanks. We watch Tubi with our kids. Eugene told me about it. There's all the old school shows on it like Scooby-Doo and Batman, and it's completely free.
Nice.
You would love it.
What's the name of this again?
Tubi.
Tubi.
Yeah.
Tubi dooby doo.
Very similar, yes. Yes.
Frank Sinatra may have done it a couple years ago.
Yes.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day. So many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. We are waiting for Hurricane Idalia to make landfall in Florida later this morning. It leaves folks along the Carolina coastline a few hours to take action.
Parts of the Carolinas could get up to 8 inches of rain, and time is running out to get ready. Let's connect the dots. South Carolina emergency officials encouraging folks to be proactive. First up, double check your emergency kit. It should contain some non-perishable food, water, medications, flashlights, batteries, and a first aid kit. Second, if your home is at risk for flooding, clear your gutters and storm drains now. It'll make a huge difference in making sure floodwaters flow away from your home. Secure outdoor furniture and garden tools. Those things can be downright dangerous if picked up and thrown in the air. Finally, stay informed. The WCNC app is a great place to track the storm as it moves up the Carolina coast. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Charlotte's Megan Bragg is getting a look behind the scenes at CMS transportation workers preparing for the big day.
around 4 o'clock.
That alarm clock set and ready as school is officially underway. But weeks before that alarm clock went off.
So with the route dry run, it allows you to go out there, see where your stops are, see if you need to make any type of changes.
CMS bus drivers were preparing for the school year.
Had some training over the summer. We've been working with our schools and principals to make sure that we're providing the best possible service to families and students.
Tom Miner, operations specialist at CMS, says bus routes have been practiced by old and new drivers. Marquise McClelland is one of those drivers, and for 6 years, he has been picking up students and dropping them off.
It was something I wanted to do. It was different. It's out of the norm.
He says his route is the same as last year in a district with about 13,000 bus stops total. So he will probably see many of the same kids.
They try to put you with the same children with the same route, but sometimes that may not always work.
Meantime, have any routes been added?
We tried to get creative too, putting some additional routes together. We're trying to minimize any sort of delays or effects on families.
CMS starts the year with 34 bus driver vacancies, with 50 additional bus drivers on leave for one reason or another. But with a $1,500 sign-on bonus and 49 new drivers hired this year, Miner is hopeful to fill the gaps.
We've got an August class happening right now, so we've got new drivers that'll be starting in September, and then we have additional classes beginning in September.
Hopefully hiring more drivers like Marquise.
It's been rewarding every step of the way.
Before becoming a driver, applicants must pass a drug screening, complete driving classes with CMS, and then ace a DMV road test. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
And as always, if there's something you'd like us to verify, all you got to do is email us at verify@wcnc.com.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
Tonight, though, a Charlotte woman is hoping to raise money and awareness for the Maui Humane Society following the deadly wildfires there. WCNC Charlotte's Kia Murray has the story.
They need money. They need money. They need supplies.
Charlottean Samantha Ahrens is working to make a difference for thousands of animals in Hawaii. The former Hawaii resident is teaming up with the Maui Humane Society to bring awareness to the growing need in the wake of those devastating wildfires.
Being, so isolated out there in the Pacific Ocean, it's easy to feel just so alone in a time like this. And I think it would just be a really great message to say, like, hey, even though we're just this small city in North Carolina that's like an entire ocean and an entire continent away from you, like, we understand your community's suffering, we care about you, and, we want to help.
Ahrens is raising money on her personal Instagram page. She's been regularly talking to the Humane Society about what they need. Money is the most helpful, but they do have an Amazon wish list where you can send them necessary supplies.
They're really only starting the process, or have been starting the process in the last few days, of trying to identify pets and reunite pets with their owners.
The Maui Humane Society estimates there are over 3,000 missing pets in the Lahaina area. They add more than 1,000 lost animal reports have already been filed.
It is not going to be just like a 1 week or 2 week crisis. It's going to be months and months. And of course, it's going to overwhelm their shelter space.
And that's why Ahrens is hopeful folks right here in Charlotte can help make a difference for people and pets in need.
Giving people who have literally just lost everything the chance to be reunited with their pets is like a gift of a lifetime right now.
I'm Kia Murray, WCNC Charlotte.
If you want to make a difference for the Maui Humane Society, we have links where you can donate inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app.
Yeah, there's so many different ways for folks to give.
Welcome back. Ready to smile? At 11 years old, you might not know what you want to do with the rest of your life. I know I didn't, but this little girl does. Hannah Rue, that is her. She definitely knows.
Yeah, her goal is to inspire others to reach for their dreams. As you can see, she is living one of her dreams here. WCNC Charlotte's Sarah French takes a look at how this young dancer is making a difference and motivating others along the way.
Well, I would want people to know that even though I look different, I'm just like you.
So Hannah is a spunky 11-year-old.
Hannah's mom, Katie, says her daughter was born missing both legs as well as part of one arm.
When we first found out, it was a big shock. But we had the whole pregnancy to kind of go through all those emotions.
And her mom says after Hannah was born, they never looked back.
We didn't think anything was going to stop her.
With the love and support from her family, Hannah took off. From baseball to soccer, gymnastics, and cheer, Hannah did it all. But dance became her passion.
I feel like dance is like a stress reliever, because sometimes after school I'll have like a stressful day, and then I'll come to dance that night and just like let all my feelings and emotions out, and I forget about everything around me, and I'm just like in the moment.
At Steps in Motion Dance Studio, Hannah says she feels at home.
I'll just like imagine me like almost like in the future, just like dancing on like stage or something. I want to be an amazing dancer.
Hannah's mom said when they first called Steps, they weren't sure how it would all play out.
When we first called up and let them know about her, we kind of didn't say a whole lot, because we're like, she's very independent. This is her body. She was born a little different and has prosthetics, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
And when Hannah joined new classes, she was fine with questions from the other kids.
Everyone's curious, and like people haven't seen me before, so I just want everyone to know that like I'm fine talking about my body. It doesn't make me uncomfortable or anything, and I accept all questions.
Hannah is working on walking in her full leg prosthetics as well. But for now, she's comfortable just like this.
She's definitely in her element when she's on stage. Hannah, when she's dancing, she's in her own world, and I can see her just dance away everyday stresses of the world. I see every emotion just come out, and just pure happiness. And that's, as a mom, the best thing to see. She's taught me just to be yourself. That's been, I think, the most important thing with her.
It doesn't matter if you're different or not. And I know sometimes things can be hard because it's like life can be completely different, but just don't let that bring you down, and to always remember that you're different, and that's fine. It's perfect, perfectly fine.
Hannah encourages all of us to embrace what makes us unique, pursuing your passions along the way. For WCNC Charlotte, I'm Sarah French.
Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Penovich. Okay, we're going to dive right into what's happening right now with Hurricane Idalia. Made landfall around 7:45 this morning in Keaton Beach, Florida. Strong Category 3, minimal Category 4. It went through an eyewall replacement cycle, but it essentially was a 130-mile-per-hour hurricane. Devastating storm surge, but the wind is a big issue now for inland areas, especially for northern Florida, Georgia, and parts of South Carolina. The reason it's moving so quickly, it's moving at almost 20 miles per hour. The faster these storms move, the slower it takes for the winds to calm down. So what happens is, as storms go over land, they weaken, but if it's flying, there's not enough time for that wind to calm down. So you can bring really strong hurricane force winds well inland. Let me show you the track real quickly. Not a lot of change here in the overall track. It's off to our southeast. So for coastal South Carolina, this is going to be still a minimal hurricane, strong tropical storm. So you're going to see all the effects of what would be essentially a Category 1 hurricane, especially on the coast. Inland, maybe a little bit less, but still the winds will be strong. I'll quickly show you the forecast track. So there it is now at 2 o'clock. It should be in southern Georgia. It'll be at 2 a.m., which is Thursday morning, right near Charleston. So this is happening quick. Basically, by 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, it's near Charleston. And then by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it's already off the coast and moving away. But this is when it starts hammering the Outer Banks. So folks in the Outer Banks, my followers out there, if you're in the Pamlico Sound area, tomorrow afternoon is going to be the worst of it for you. Probably tomorrow morning and afternoon. And then by tomorrow night, it moves away from the coast completely. Let's talk about the storm surge, because the storm surge is a significant issue with this. I'm going to move my head out of the way. We've already seen the storm surge in Florida, but for North Carolina and South Carolina, 3 to 5 inches here for the low country of South Carolina. Grand Strand to the Cape Fear area, 1 to 3, but be on guard. This could go higher at high tide. Astronomical high tides, swells from Franklin offshore are supplying more water, so these could run higher than anticipated. The biggest threat, though, in the Carolinas is going to be the southern Pamlico Sound, because we've got all this rain from this week and from the rain from the storm trying to push out of the rivers, but water's being pushed in by the surge and the wind. So that water can't go anywhere. So it spills over the banks, gets pushed into all those bays and canals and swamps and rivers, and it just overflows. There's just nowhere for the water to go. And then on the backside, Outer Banks tomorrow, sound side flooding as the winds swing around to the northeast. So don't let your guard down for that either. In fact, if you look at some of the forecast, surge potential, obviously pretty high in the low country. But as you go up into North Carolina, I think these are underdone a little bit here. Certainly some high water level in the Pamlico Sound, and even areas like Emerald Isle. Some of the intercoastal areas could see some significant water. And then around Ocean Isle, some pretty high water, maybe Holden Beach, higher than anticipated just because of the astronomical high tide. So let's get into the timing of all this for the rain, which is a story for folks in the Charlotte area and west. I'll focus on that now. All right, so this is the path of the storm. We'll go into the afternoon hours. You see the progression of the rain in the Charlotte area and west. If we're going to see rain, it's going to be a very sharp cutoff. If you're in the mountains and foothills, you might not see any rain at all. But in Charlotte, south and east, so areas, from about I-85 this way, this is where all the action is going to be. You can see the rain band sets up, and by this evening rush, it's going to be wet. So the later we get into the evening and the further south and east you go, the higher the chance of rain. You see the heavy rain. Charlotte FC fans watching this, it's rain. I don't expect much lightning, but it's going to be a steady rain. So just be prepared for a soaker. It may not let up at all as we go into the evening hours, into the overnight. And look at this heavy rain band. This is where the flash flooding is going to be the worst. Wherever this band right here sets up, this is going to be more of the light, moderate stuff. This is the flood right here. This is going to be the flooding rains right here. So if you're in this area, that's where we're going to see the flooding. And that's over an area where it's going to be saturated into the overnight hours. And the back edge starts to move in by, I'd say, morning time at some point overnight. So this is going to be a 12-hour window of maybe 3 or 4 this afternoon to 3 or 4 in the morning tomorrow for Charlotte, and then it's out of here. Now, let's go back and talk about some of the other factors. There is a tornado risk, obviously, along the coast. You could see South Carolina, North Carolina. There is a 5 to 10% chance of tornadoes. That's very common in these, so just a heads up for that. As far as rainfall amounts, again, in Charlotte, I think it's going to be a pretty tight gradient from maybe nothing to maybe 3 or 4 inches, but bigger amounts along I-95 PD area could be upwards of a foot of rain. So if you're in that area, please, 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 extra precautions. I'll show you the wider view. Look at that swath of heavy rain from the Outer Banks back through Fayetteville, Lumberton, Florence, Columbia, Orangeburg, all the way down, to maybe south of Augusta. As far as winds are concerned, immediately in the Charlotte area, winds will not be a big deal. 30, 35, maybe 40 mile per hour gusts. But remember, the ground can get saturated. It already is in some areas. And just takes 30 mile an hour wind to bring out a tree in some of those situations where you just have, some wet soil. As far as winds near the coast, inland areas could see 40, 50, but right on the coast, that's where you'll see the strongest winds overall. So that's kind of the area I'm watching for probably the worst of the winds. I was going to quickly show you, let me see if I have it up here. I was going to do this in motion just so you can kind of see the movement. Let me move my head a little bit. I'm going to move my head way over here. You could see the movement of the wind just for its timing. So this is going into this afternoon, and then this evening is when the winds ramp up, and we'll go, until this evening. Let me refresh this real quick, actually. See if I can't refresh this. Give you a little better update. So there we go. We got a little bit more data here. So this is a short range rapid refresh. So you're looking at almost real time data as it comes in every hour. And there again, you see the strongest winds. The one thing that's interesting is the